Greetings, class. I hope you guys are doing well and being safe and taking really good care of yourselves. I'm going to go over the essay called Two Kinds of Patriotism. And before we start, I should create a frame for this. This essay really gets into immigration, which actually has a major say in our political conversations we have today. And what it really gets into is how immigrants change as they settle into our country. And let me be honest, this essay is a lot more controversial than you might think. And our topic, as we know, is a lot more controversial than we might perceive. And to set it up, in 101, which is a lower level class, I go over this essay by George Fredrickson, and it talks about immigration. And one concept of immigration, or the settlement of a country, is called ethnic hierarchy. And ethnic hierarchy is where you have one group on top and you have other levels, and it's almost impossible for the lower level to move up into that rank. A classic example would be the Indian caste system, where you have a group that's on top and it's almost impossible to move up into that group. You could say our country is an ethnic hierarchy because it's traditionally run by rich white men, the 1%, and to move up into that class is literally impossible for most Americans. That'd be ethnic hierarchy. Another perception is, I'm not going to go over all four, but the two big ones I think of are that, and once you're in that group, you get in your group, you try to keep other people from moving into your group. It might be tax laws, it might be political laws, or it might just be social distancing, which is a great term for us today, from those other groups of people or classes. Another term he gets into that I think really applies to this essay is called cultural pluralism. And that's acceptance of other cultures. And so here's a radical example, but if you go to an Italian food festival, they don't check your ID and say, you know what, you're Polish, you can't come to this Italian food festival. So it's inclusion, it's acceptance. So on St. Patrick's Day, everybody can drink beer, everybody can wear green, and you're accepted. Nobody's saying, you're not Irish, you can't partake in this festivity. And there's a lot more I could say about this, but those are two frames that I see in this essay. Those are two lenses. And the essay begins with a pretty good hook. It talks about Michelle Obama, and she says that she wants more for her country. She's not happy about where her country is. And a lot of people saw those words as being unpatriotic, but the author really questions those. And he gets into these two views of patriotism, and we've talked a lot about them. They are blind patriotism, they are progressive patriotism. And what the essay really gets into is this. He doesn't call it blind patriotism, he calls it conservative patriotism. And as we know, our country has been divided for a long time now. And he's saying that it's these terms that are really dividing us. It's that we are conservative patriots. We have this view of immigrants or politics that has this particular lens, and if people don't fit in that lens, then it's very hard for them to be accepted into the culture, or for them to accept people into the culture, or their politics into their ideologies. And then you also have progressive patriotism, which is wanting more. So I would say that conservative patriotism really had that ethnic hierarchy. There's us and there's you, and we're going to keep you. We're going to have a very clear definition of what we see as patriotic. And if you don't fit that definition, we're not going to accept you. And then we have progressive patriotism. Progressive patriotism is, you know what, we're going to accept you. We're going to include you. We love all people in this country. We may not agree with the politics, but we're going to work hard to change them. And this is very controversial, what I'm about to say, but it's really what he's saying. And he's saying that traditionally, immigrants who come to our country, a long time ago, they tend to settle, and this is this is a huge overgeneralization. And again, it's not what I'm saying, it's what the essay is saying, is that people who immigrate to this country for decades ago and they settle in, they tend to become more conservative patriots and they tend to be less accepting of immigrants coming into the country, and they tend to have more conservative views. And I don't want to touch upon that too much, but I'll have you guys think about that. I have a lot of students who are immigrants who have a lot of strong perceptions of that. And then the other view is that immigrants who are new here, they typically have a more progressive view of patriotism. They're more inclusive. They're working hard for minority cultures and trying to include them in, and they're less indoctrinated to their traditions. They may not see as having a flag in your yard as being patriotic like a conservative patriot would have. So he really breaks it down into those two levels, and I think this could work really well for your paper, defining patriotism and getting into those ideas. And another concept that I find really interesting, and it is powerful, he's basically saying that conservative patriotism or nationalism is never going to go away. It's going to be here. And I find that interesting because it seems like we're moving. It's hard to say where we're moving, especially right now. I think for a while we had more progressive liberal ideas in our culture. We're moving towards more equality, equity for all people, social justice issues. And it seems like recently we've taken a step back from that, and we've gone more into the nationalistic views. Especially with our politics, we've watched videos about this, we've talked about this, right? And then what he's saying is that even as we progress towards the future, there's always going to be that conservative group that's going to have nationalistic identities, and they're going to have this strong perception of patriotism, and that's never going to go away. You can't really change that, and it's going to take hold in all cultures. And I think that's a pretty strong point, because we do see that today, and it's not going to go away. And I think that we as a culture, we need to know that and understand that there are two views, and we need to work together to understand that. And it's a very powerful perception. And I would love to hear what you guys have to say about that in class. You can only imagine the conversations we could have, but those are some of the key points for this essay. If you have any questions on this essay, my email is bpranowitz@yahoo.com. Thanks for listening.